Thank you all for coming out. I love doing this. I think it's a nice way to learn and get a number of topics out there and walk around a beautiful piece of property with people that know what they're doing, look like they're well resourced, right? Run a really professional operation. Anyway, I'm happy to be here, and thanks to the club for hosting us and everybody for coming out. As we normally have started to see a sort of roller coaster start to the season for us. Warm, and then it stalls on the heels of what I would call a proper winter, right? We definitely saw long periods of time where the ground was snow covered, where we couldn't get out and work, where the things we sort of normally got to do in the winter, it was a little bit different, at least where we were, for a long period of time. And we were at Rosedale yesterday and actually saw some of the scars of really thick ice, snow mold breaking through, right, in some interesting Civitas and a microbial product that the Evergrow guys provide, that you guys sell. He's gone completely sort of biological, organic on his fairways at Rosedale, which I think is definitely saying something about that. And that's a real niche. And how we got started working with Civitas was really to reduce the inputs in other ways. And in particular, when we were working on Long Island at Bethpage, it was to reduce pesticide use. So anyway, getting going in the spring, I've seen a bunch of golf courses. I went around with Ken a minute ago. And when you look at these putting surfaces, covered or not, these surfaces are further along than you might see a lot of other surfaces, at least that I've seen this year. And one of the things we talked about was potentially the use of sand top dressing later in the season. So before we get going and we get out there, Ken, let's get some numbers and let's so everybody understands the size and scale of this operation. We went through total acreage. Let's talk about how much acres of greens, tees, fairways. I think we said about maybe 50 acres of rough.
Yeah, we're about 20.6 acres on fairways. We're 4 acres on greens and 3.5 on tees. We're starting to let some areas grow, some naturalization areas, just to reduce some of the rough that we have here. There's a lot of areas that don't need to be mowed. They're out of play, and we're just spending a lot of labor mowing something that doesn't need to be there.
So 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
2 guys, 35 hours a week cutting rough. Does that seem like a lot or normal for up here with a Parkland golf course? That's a lot. That's what I thought. But I don't know. I mean, again, it's a lot of rough. I wouldn't say they're probably not efficient. I mean, for a piece of property, other than the elevation change once you get out there, there's plenty of obstacles, but it's pretty smooth going. It's not terrible.
No, it's not. It's not. There's some hills that we got to manage, but everything else is fairly
And that's
flat.
where I think the conversation, Nigel, we're going to have at some point with the robots. Where are you, Nigel? When we start talking about your automation, I will say, I think I've become a real advocate for adopting some form of automation, because either you do that as an industry or stop whining about labor. Stop whining about labor, right? All I ever hear, I can't get help. No one wants to do it. Can't pay it. They're too expensive. Okay. You start looking at investing in these things, you're not laying anybody off. Now the people that used to do this have hours available for other detail work. I mean, I think that has to be the goal, particularly at an operation like this and like at Rosedale, which you got a lot of handwork. It's a lot of detail work, and some of that actually can be automated, right? And so I think as you think about that, what would you do with that other labor, right? Here, the bunkers are old enough, you're probably spending enough time fussing with them.
Yeah, they're ancient. I think the last time bunkers were touched for a full renovation was 93.
So this was built in the 50s, you said?
54 is when the 18 was built. So the original 9 was 1914, and then 1954, they kind of blew that up and then bought another farm, expanded to the 18. And
now you're going to lose the first hole.
Yeah, so Trafalgar Road that's coming through, they're taking quite a bit of land from us. I think it's close to 3 acres, which encroaches our practice area and our first hole. So we're kind of in the plan of a redesign on that. We're working with the region to see what they want or how much they'll give us, and we're kind of working through that. So, and that's going to come quick. So They got to go onto the railroad tracks here just north of Maple. So I think they'll be starting work soon on that. So it's going to be a big hole over there, and we could use some of that fill here. So there's a lot of moving pieces in a short amount of time that's going to happen. So.
And if grown grass was the only thing you had to do, when that stuff starts flying around the fan, man, it's just going to get messy everywhere.
Yeah, and then on top of that, we're building a new shop and a new reservoir, all in the same within the next 3 years. So it's going to be crazy here for.
Well, it's a good time to be in golf. That's all I can tell you. I've been in golf for the better part of 35, 40 years. And even back in the Tiger Woods days, it isn't as good as it is now. And a lot of that in the States, I can tell you, has to do with the fact that after Tiger Woods, we started closing golf courses at 200 courses a clip in America. We built them, and they were closing for 10 years. We closed thousands of golf courses. And then the supply, when COVID hit and all the golfers came out because it's all they could do, they came and they stuck. And the other thing that happened was remote work. Once, I don't know how remote work works around here, but what used to be Maintenance Monday now has become Maintenance Tuesday, because no one goes into the metropolitan areas on Mondays and Fridays anymore. They're only going in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? So it's changing sort of the way we can operate. You're doing, did you say 35, 38?
38.
38,000 rounds, right? But as we'll see, these are hefty greens. These are big greens. I mean, these are like, you almost need a sprinkler head in the middle of one of these greens. They're so big. Who did this place originally in the 50s?
It was Moot, Bob Moot.
Bob Moot?
Yeah.
A Canadian architect?
Canadian architect,
okay.
Yeah.
So how many guys?
We're about 25.
25 guys.
Yeah, we're about 25. Yeah.
All right. 38,000 rounds, 25 guys. We're going to see two different landscapes. One that is up on the hillside here, and then one in the flats where the Black Creek goes through, right?
Yeah.
Black Creek goes through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Ready to walk? All right, off we go. Okay, so like I was saying earlier, I think, and I don't know what the folks at Guelph are thinking, but we are really looking at automation, things that can be automated, as really good investments. And you know, the thing we mentioned up top about labor was one, but the other is, what did Jeff Stauffer tell me yesterday? He had a guy miss work one day, and he had to hop on a vent track and cut a slope, and he was nervous cutting it, and he goes, okay, now we got to put automation into these things. So it's not just it saves labor, but you actually don't want a heavy piece of equipment around a slope like this. Now, is this okay? So with that, Nigel, what are we looking at? And you want to talk about productivity and stuff like that?
Sure. Frank touched on some of it with the labor issue. We're not replacing labor in most cases. We're trying to utilize our staff for more high-value jobs. It's an opportunity to get some of the heavy machinery off the golf course, reduce wear, reduce damage, reduce noise, have some of the activity done in the evening when golfers aren't around. High-impact areas like the clubhouse here, where we've got a lot of play, a lot of traffic, food and beverage. You've got the whisper quiet operation. So there's a lot of the boxes get checked off. That's the 233 model. It does about 3 acres of turf and maintains that level of turf without the turf getting away from you. It'll mow up to about where the guys are standing back here with regard to a slope. Once we have more of a slope, we have the new models, which are 4x4 wheel drive. They have less productivity. They'll run between 1/2, 3/4, or 1.5 acres to take care of that sort of turf, but it handles those steep slopes. It'll go up to about 45 degrees. So that's the first one that's just come into Canada. We actually haven't even run it yet. Brand new a model. There are some other models coming out which will do up to 10 acres of turf, which are going to be very fast. They'll be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 machines. So the range right now is between about $3,500 for the smaller ones of these, right up to $20,000 to do a 7-acre with a machine that looks very much like this. I came out here yesterday afternoon. I set this up in about half an hour. I use a mapping cart, which is up on the hillside there, and we utilize that with a cell phone, a free app on your phone. You map that area out that you want. You put in the schedule for the time you want it to start. You put the height of cut in, and away it goes. It does a terrific job of straight lines, quality cut. This is the first cut of the season here for Ken, so that it's a little bit shaggy because it's the first time through. It's a little longer than we'd like it to be. Next time it goes through, that quality of cut's going to get better and better. couple other features that are beneficial. As these robots cut more often, more frequently, you get better quality turf. The turf tillers, you're not taking off too much grass after a long weekend. You're able to mow when it's wet in a rainy situation. So it really changes the way you're going to schedule things and the logistics around your golf course. The final piece is you could actually pick this up. If you had a wet area of the golf course, or Ken's going to have a lot of construction here, he's going to have a lot of sod. You don't want the heavy machinery on those areas. Now you can pick up the robot, temporarily drop it in that area, hit play, it'll mow while you're out doing your other jobs, and then come back and pick it up and bring it back to the charging station.
Yeah, there's not a lot of things to not like. I wonder about subscriptions over time, Nigel. Do I have to pay every year for subscriptions after I buy the unit?
With us, no. There's a proprietary system all over America called RTK that's owned by Crest, and the RTK signal is what the robot uses to orientate itself and know where it's at. When we first train it, we use the cellular signal to get that data up into the cloud and then back down into the robot. No subscription whatsoever. Once you buy the robot, everything's included. It's a flat fee and there's no extra charges whatsoever. The only maintenance would be you change the blades. There's very small razor blades under there that spin on a round disc, and we are finding they last anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks, depending on what the grass species is, how much sand and debris around. Sarah?
With the cell coverage, do you just need it to train it, or
Yes.
you need the cell service to run it?
Just to train it.
Okay.
Yeah. Once we train it, then it goes over to the RTK, the proprietary signal. Yeah.
I've seen like they put these little bubbles at clubs that have like a 10-mile radius or something like
So
that.
you can be a host site for the Crest network. Everything's
That's right.
in place down here. As we get further up, as we go towards Muskoka and Sudbury North Bay, those are still being built out, and you could host a site
That's
what
right.
Frank's described. And that's
So
just a
it's,
matter of putting an antenna on
yeah,
it.
and I think, you know, here's the thing. We've done some calculations looking at the acreage of rough we cut at the Cornell Golf Course, rough, tees, and fairways, all that area. And the number of units we would need to buy essentially is the cost of a Toro rough mower or a Toro fairway mower, right? So you got to wonder how Crest, Husqvarna, Segway, all these. I mean, okay, listen. All I can tell you is if you went to the national meeting in America, in Florida, there had to be a dozen, and half of those or 2/3 of those companies I never heard of until they showed. What are these companies? And they're just a bunch of engineers that can buy molded plastic and put razor blades on the bottom of it and put their own solid state technology in it. That's coverage and stuff like that. But here's the things to keep in mind. They have different ways of sensing. That's something you want to look at, whether you're interested in this or otherwise. I'm going to say something nice about Crest. Don't worry, Nigel. But no matter what, you got to have a sensing system. But ultimately, the cost is productivity. The bigger energy source it has, the more area it cuts, the more expensive it is. And so one of the things we're really looking at as almost a first step, and I don't know, you mentioned the range area. I wonder if I could automate a range, right? I know that a competitor that paints it gray, and then the red people paint it red. It's the same thing. They have mowers that push the balls out of the way and can cut. I think they're 10-acre units that you get. And then they got ball collectors that can go around. Now, I actually think that the one that a lot of people use is the ball collector made up here in Canada. It's the one that's popular on the tour locations throughout America. So, anyway, lots of things to consider here. I would tell you this. We started working with robots a decade ago when they used to be all wire buried in the ground. And that's when they were random like. You couldn't get them to mow patterns back then. And what we found, just to get started, is sometimes getting a hand mower or an actual mechanical mower, the first cut. Like if you need it to look good right away, that first cut with a different kind of mower once is good. And the other thing you got to consider with these things is debris. I mean, you got sticks and leaves and junk all over. These things, you don't want to be banging those little blades, right? I've seen them run over tee markers. These are things you live and learn. I've seen a couple of clubs just buy a few and put them on par 3s. And on the par 3s, they can mow rough and tee and fairway heights. They can change heights, right? Change heights. You can program it in the app. This area you cut at this height, this area you cut at that height. So I think he was having problems with them riding over the tees, but that's, you know, every one of these units is going to have different things you're going to have to figure out. But I promise you, within a couple of months of using it, you'll figure out how to use it if you pay attention to it, right? If it becomes something you pay attention to. And here's the last thing I'll say about this. Don't underestimate the value of the quiet, right? If all of a sudden there's no more mowers around the clubhouse during the day, you can replace, you know, all this handwork or detail work, having to blow clippings and stuff like that. And you got a couple of mowers just deployed at a couple of different heights doing things in here.
I would add 2 or 3 things. The mowers have sensors on them to determine T-block, it will go around it. Yep. It also has a bumper, which if it actually touched something, it backs off and goes away and comes back later on to that thing. To Frank's point about the quiet around the clubhouse, everywhere we've gone and people bought these things, the members embrace them as if it's a puppy dog walking around. We're all happy to see Steve's dog here, and it's going to start rounding up the robot in a minute, I think, Steve. But the members all treat it like it's a puppy dog, something new, they name it. It's just the PR that's associated with this, above and beyond all the agronomic effects, are very high.
Yeah. And here's my nice thing to say about Crest. Crest definitely has made an effort, at least in the States, with providing a good network of service. I mean, anytime you take on new technology, right, everything's good when it's working, right? It's pretty much the rule with almost every piece of equipment, right? Mowers pretty much cut grass no matter what color we paint the metal, right? When they break and you can't get apart, that's where like, okay, I don't think I like this mower because it doesn't work. I have to fix it more. So I think servicing these things and providing the support that either Crest is doing or they're investing in guys like you that are becoming knowledgeable about this, I think, you know, you're going to need a little help as we start to adopt this technology. You're going to want a little help in thinking through how to, well, I like it. What else can I do next? Right, Nige? What else can I do? You know, do I want to start with my range? What does an automated range, or if I took that out? I mean, here, how many guys you got mowing the range? How long does the range take you to mow?
That's our driving range there. It doesn't take, it's very, 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 very small.
It's small.
So it's maybe 2 hours, if that. Yeah, it's very tiny. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So it's no big deal.
No, the range isn't a big deal.
But I bet it's a busy place.
It's a very busy place, and I mean, that'd be a perfect spot for a robot, because then it's just done. Like, you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to take time away from that. You can be out on the golf course with it. So.
Yeah. These guys do have a ball deflector now, so that's
that's
an option.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Got a little cage around it so it doesn't get hit by
Yeah, it almost looks like a bumper. It's like a round aluminum bumper that floats on the turf and just pushes the balls off to the side like a snow shovel.
What if people want to use it for target practice?
Oh, like they do the guys in the cage, right? That's the great thing. Try to hit those guys.
Cage around it.
Yeah.
They're actually very durable.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're very durable.
Yeah. I mean, underneath they're sensitive, right? Those blades, there's not much to them.
Believe it or not, you would think stuff would break under there. We haven't seen it happen.
Yeah,
Believe it or not.
I will say this: now that this is out, Jason Henderson at the University of Connecticut, he'd be worth getting up here at some point as well. Him and Tessa, his graduate student, they just did a robotic mower study looking at nutrient and fertility levels, and basically, these robots, when you use them all the time, cut your nutrient use in half. If you fertilize this, 2 pounds a year, now you could do 1 pound a year, right? And get the same quality. And you're getting more dense turf. The other thing that sports field managers are noticing, guys in the sports field business with high traffic areas, mowing every day makes for a denser turf. Denser turf is more traffic tolerant. So I'm still looking for a downside of this thing, and I can't find one.
I got another pro.
What?
Dr. Ed Nangle from Ohio. He was at the Ontario Turfgrass Symposium.
Yeah.
He's got some preliminary research that shows he was running the mowers at 2 a.m. and it was knocking the dew off, and they had an automatic dollar spot reduction.
Yeah. Again. Yeah, that's the thing. We actually started to suspect potentially Kyle Wickings, our soil insect ecologist, he is done some work looking at bioacoustics, like making the worms think there's a bird on the surface so they don't come up. And there's some evidence that these robot mowers are vibrating, or they could be able to vibrate as a way, if you ran them at night, that they would prevent the worms from casting. So that's the next crazy study going on. Yeah. As we start to as we start to want to get away from blanketing places with insecticides, and speaking of that, how's the annual bluegrass weevil season off to this year? Slow? Where are we at? I don't see a lot of forsythias. I haven't seen it. They're blooming. Yeah, they're starting to go in the city now? Okay. So that means the adults are out and moving. Do you deal with them here?
We do. We haven't treated yet.
Okay.
But that's.
Do you spray pyrethroid? Do you spray acelepryn?
So acelepryn,
Yeah.
and tetrino.
And
Yeah.
tetrino.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit of adulticide.
Yeah.
And then tetrino is the larvicide.
Yeah.
Okay. So everywhere?
Not everywhere. No. Greens and tees will get treated, and then it would be spots and fairways and rough.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So just just around greens and tees.
Yeah.
Do you see injury along the fairways?
A couple years ago we did, but I haven't seen it since.
Okay.
But it was a couple years ago we had some damage.
Okay. Well, the last thing I'll say, and is what we ended with yesterday talking about with Civitas, but my former college roommate who just retired from being a 40-year superintendent on Long Island was a Civitas user for a while and had a lot of annual bluegrass weevil problems that, we would blanket on Long Island. They would blanket the fairways, loop the rough, loop the fairways, loop everything. I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon to spray 50, 60 acres of insecticides. And they were doing it 2-3 times a year. Back in the day when annual bluegrass weevil, we didn't have a lot of options, and adulticides were almost all we had, and the majority of the insects in where annual bluegrass weevil is in the metropolitan New York area are resistant to pyrethroids. So adulticides are a complete waste of time. So if you're using those still, and you're not seeing them be effective, I wouldn't be surprised if you had some resistance. Now, what my buddies found was that when he was using Civitas in his rough areas and spraying his fairways in the early season with his normal sprays to get it going, he noticed, hey, Frank, does this control annual bluegrass weevil? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's an oil. I bet it could. Matt, where are you? And so what did he find?
Well, you mean...
What did Ben find?
Oh, so Ben found... So basically, you are timing the adults, right? So in a Petri dish, he did a study. If you spray it, even at the 120 mil rate equivalent, it's 100% mortality in a Petri dish. But the problem is ABW aren't in a Petri dish on a golf course, right? So the problem is getting it in contact, because it has to come in contact with them. So long story short, what he found is there's two things you can do to improve that control, right? So if you don't do anything, it's like 25-30% control at best, just kind of hitting what's up top. But if the ground is saturated, you can increase that closer to 50-60%. The other thing you can do is spin the sprinkler heads one time, and that will also take you in that 50 to 60% range.
After you apply?
After you apply, because once it dries, it's no longer an insecticide. So when it's wet droplet, it is an insecticide, but the minute it dries, it's no longer an insecticide. It's not like you're not going to re-wet it either. So really that spin of the heads, what he found was he was looking at carrier volume, but carrier volume's in the 8 to 10 gallons per thousand or per thousand range, which is unrealistic. So the spin of the heads is really effective as well. So
and it's not something that insects can become resistant to, right? It coats their exoskeleton, and then that's why the water matters. It isn't that they are suffocated, as I understand it from Ben's work with pigment. He used dye to see what was happening. The oil, the mineral oil in Civitas was acting like a surfactant along the sphericals, which are the breathing ports on the side of the insect, and it was allowing water to get in and they were drowning. Right? That's actually how the insects die, is that they drown, because the oil lubricates their surface and allows the high volume water to get in there. So that's why it matters. So anyway, it's one of those things that when you use it routinely, like Jeff Stauffer uses Civitas every 2 weeks, spraying somewhere on that golf course every 2 weeks, he's definitely seen some reductions associated with that.
What about ants?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so, because the issue with ants, honestly, is that the thing you see, no matter how much you spray, they're just going to keep coming back if you don't deal with the queen. So baits have been effective. So applications well back from where you see the ant mounds. But this is getting worse, right? Raise your hand, ants getting worse, right? Worms getting worse, right? Now we hear about nematodes. I personally think people talk about nematodes because in the States we have new nematicides you can spray, but maybe we got more nematodes. And a lot of this is actually a sign that we're not really using the sort of toxic materials we might have used 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, no more cadmium, no more mercury for snow mold, right? I was spraying mercury when I started in this business. So all I can tell you is when we start to, and people talk to you about soil health, right? One of the things we're finding is that one of the challenges we face is as our soils continue to get healthy, which is a really good thing, there may be associated issues like ants and worms, right? Nematodes, other types of soil life that cause us issues, right? That we're going to have to learn how to manage. Okay, let's walk. It's good to walk. Let's walk. I'm only going to be at this for just a little bit longer, and then I'm going to hang up my walking shoes at some point. But what I can tell you is a lot of things we are concerned about and occupy our day, especially now that golf's doing good. I think we really can't lose sight of the fact that actually when push comes to shove, if a community like this in a very urban area starts to, smell blood in the water, that maybe things aren't copacetic around here, maybe done exactly the way they should be, right? It's a lot of land for just a few people to come out and regulate in a heavily, recreate in a heavily urbanized area, right? And that's just a little way of saying, I am always so impressed when I come to operations where golf courses have been designed to be servicing the stormwater management needs of the communities around them. This idea that we study in my lab called ecosystem services, the way our landscapes benefit society in other ways, people who live around here, right? Not get their basements flooded. I think that's what Jeff was saying yesterday. They let a portion of the golf course flood over there, because if they let it out, then you start flooding those $4 million home basements, and we can't have that. So I do think anytime I walk by any water structures, you see water moving through. This is a real part of, I think, what these landscapes can provide when you got pavement everywhere. Just look around. You take a look at this place from a Google map. There's not a lot of green. I mean, you guys do a pretty good job about keeping green space, but there's not a lot of green space in these metropolitan areas. And while you guys think about the toiling every day of preparing a golf course for people to play and enjoy for pay for play or as a membership service, whatever it is, the rest of everybody else thinks of this, and I think should think of it as a vital landscape that's serving the communities that it's in my opinion, especially in urban areas. That's why coming to these heavily urbanized areas, just, take a minute, look at the water. And there's two things. One is, you're managing it for the community in some ways, right? This creek is coming off a road, and maybe you're using it for irrigation. And there's some movement, obviously, of the water through this property, right? But at the same time, you don't want to be contaminating it any further, right? And anytime you can grab a sample on the way in and grab a sample on the way out, it's a good story to tell. And it's the kind of proactive sort of environmental stuff that I think you know who you are when nobody's looking. What do you do when nobody's looking, right? And I don't think it's a big deal. We see this everywhere. I mean, I was in Denver where they're closing golf courses to cut big 10-inch pipes that run underneath for stormwater and just letting the golf course flood so that people can continue to live and work out there, because when it rains in Denver at 8 inches in a day, it's ridiculous. It shuts down commerce for a month. So they're going to flood a golf course to deal with the stuff there. So just a note, whenever I see these water structures, don't take them for granted where you guys are. And when it comes to reducing inputs, I think about nutrients, honestly, more than I think about pesticides. A lot of the threats that our water bodies face is from nutrient movement, right? And we're not going to get to your shop, I bet, right?
No.
But if I went there, I would see the most beautiful equipment wash pad I've ever seen. Wouldn't I?
You would, yeah.
It would be just the most beautiful wash pad I've ever seen. That is the #1 environmental problem facing the golf industry, I would say the grounds industry, anywhere it's practiced, is where we clean the equipment. That's it. It's one of the biggest sources of consistent point source pollution we have on golf courses. Right? We started working with this wastewater engineering group out of Rochester, the Pollution Prevention Institute. We've done a lot of work with these guys, and they're like, oh, let's sample this water and see what it looks like. And you know, it always happens to like go over a hillside or sneak into a stream somewhere. And that's the kind of thing when you really want to be careful about not impacting water quality, watch where you wash your equipment and do the best you can to blow it off first before you bring it to some place you're going to use water. How many guys have recycled systems? Anybody have recycled systems? Not in demand up here? Okay. Recycled water systems? No? Nobody? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, off the shelf in the States, for what a golf course needs, I would say about 50, 60 grand. Oh, there's the target. Okay. I would say off the shelf about 50, 60 grand for sure. But honestly, you don't need to, I don't know that you need to recycle the water. That's not the thing I'm worried about. What I want is to keep the crap out of the water that goes out the pipe. That's the thing that matters. That's the thing that matters. Anyway, so the creek comes from?
This is a tributary that comes from up there. Then we have another one that comes into that pond. So we kind of got 2 spots that flow. These are irrigation ponds, and then majority of the water that we get is from Black Creek that gets pumped up into this pond here. So.
Okay. And how's the water quality?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Black Creek is pretty good water. It's kind of the premier stream that runs in Ontario for the salmon. So they really protect the Credit Valley Conservation.
They got salmon running up here.
So it's
do you have any particular restrictions being associated near this river?
No, none that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep walking. See how hard it is to pull up? It's a good sign. Yeah, it's a good, healthy root zone. All right, great. Okay, yeah, come on in here. Yeah, stand on the green. Come on, these things need a little bit of traffic.
You did something to make those roots that long before. Can you pick that spot on purpose?
Yeah, I had the same problem when I was here earlier, when we were going around earlier. Okay, so is this, okay, a lot of golf courses got a hodgepodge of root zones, right? Maybe, especially when the ice came through a bunch of years ago, maybe people took the opportunity to rebuild a few greens, maybe put them into bent grass, something like that. This golf course is no exception.
Yeah.
The greens are from the 50s, but then you had some done in?
I think it was 2013, I believe, as we had 3 greens rebuilt, our 6th, 14th, and 15th hole to sand-based greens. And then the rest are all push-up.
Okay, so which is what we have here.
Yeah.
But from the 50s, how far do I gotta go before I get, when you cut a cup, are you into the original push-up green?
Yeah, the bottom of the cup would be.
The bottom of the cup. So you're that far away from it now, from all the years of sanding.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So it's a good structure now.
Okay, so let me tell you something out of the gate here. This was covered or uncovered?
This one was covered, yeah.
A covered green that also got the top dressing.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, something happened this winter with guys who blanketed the soil with sand, blanketed their greens with sand. Our guy at Cornell did it. I gotta tell you, this is as lush and as dense as I've seen a putting green this early in the season, right? And my head goes like, oh my God, what do you got, 10 pounds of nitrogen? Look at all this grass. You got enough grass on 1 green for 18 greens, right? All those things start flying through my head. And then I say, well, how much nitrogen? It's like I'm barely using a pound, right? So what I think we're dealing with, and you can really see it here, I mean, these are really healthy surfaces, but you see the mat layer you know, you've got a mat layer. This is where the whole game is played, right up here in the top of this thing. How you can get them firm, right? You got to keep this thing, you know, as firm as you possibly can, which means it's got to have, you know, a lot of sand in it for it to function and get firm, right? And there's probably a lot of fine particles that are built up in here because they're really mature greens that they've been managing for
70 years.
70 years. That's a long time, right? And you know what I like is there's a consistency. It's not as much layering. There's a couple of things in here where maybe it got away from you a little bit. But the real cool thing is, look at all the roots. I mean, these plants, even though they may not be growing at the surface, this is one of the most important times for them to get going. And honestly, when you have greens that have this much organic matter producing this much rooting, when you cut a cup, how deep is the root? How deep are the roots in the cup? 4 inches maybe? Yeah, about that deep. Okay. So when you think about that, you start to realize there's a lot of nitrogen that's being supplied by that soil organic matter, right? There's no question about it. And if you keep these things well watered, right, or even drying them out, I'm sure you're using wetting agents of some sort, right?
Yeah.
Dry them out, maybe they dry out more uniformly, but in general, you must be getting an enormous amount of nitrogen from mineralization in these soils.
Yeah, we found we just started collecting clippings last year just to start that process to see what we're getting.
Ugh.
And I felt for the little N that we're applying and the growth regulator that we are applying, like we're getting a lot of clippings. Like I'm surprised how full the buckets are after a mow.
Yeah.
So like we're getting N from, I'm assuming like because the hot last year and the moisture, like the soil was just
cooking,
yeah.
Especially if you were keeping it watered properly, right? That microbial activity just keeps going, and that's where, you know, we've had a lot of success. We've seen a lot of guys and seen some good data from consistent use of Anew through the season. A lot of guys are using that in place of Primo now as sort of the backbone. And then they'll put in, you know, the Primo or other regulators that you might have access to over the top of that. Because I think, you know, what I'm pleased to see is, you know, it's not what I would call thatchy. It certainly has a mat layer. It certainly has a layer of organic matter and sand. So you're obviously matching growth with the sand amount that you're putting on. That'll get better. You must have to put a fair amount of sand on.
We do, yeah.
You have to put a fair amount of sand on.
Yeah, we do.
Because I think if it gets ahead of you, you'll start to get those layers in here, and that's where you really start to get, it makes it difficult to get them firm at the surface, right? The other thing I think about, and that's why it's so great to see this, you can literally see that winter sand layer that's already providing some of that protection right out of the gate. And that's what's really important as we start to get these things ready for play. Now let's ask about that. When does your membership expect to come here and say, "Up, Ken's gonna have it dialed in right at this time"?
For summer conditions, I tell them the May 2-4 weekend. But our members would love to be out a month ago. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, like there's some get it and some realize it.
So you're saying 2 weeks from now?
Yeah. Like,
But you're going to open Wednesday.
We're opening Friday.
You're opening Friday, but they expect it to be good
by the May 2-4 weekend. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not Victoria weekend.
Yeah, that
Victoria, weekend.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that seems to be the starting point.
Yeah.
And I could imagine, at least as green as you look here, and I don't see the scarring that I saw at Rosedale the other day, where he had some snow mold breakthrough for sure. These things look like they're ready now, so this is a problem for you.
Yeah,
because the members are going to want to come out now that it looks.
They do, and they walk the course. They bring their dogs out and they go for walks, so they see the progress and they get excited. They get excited, but with the rain that we had, we were so wet we couldn't. Like we're cutting rough finally because we can finally get onto it.
Okay. So it's been a wet start to the spring.
A very wet start.
Very wet. Okay.
Yeah, we were underwater last week. So.
Okay. Yeah. Just last week.
Yeah.
The wettest spring in 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Really?
There's a town in Ontario that was declared a state of emergency.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So
okay.
It's the.
So that's one of the reasons the grass is growing.
Yeah.
And you've been getting the occasional, warm day too,
Yeah,
right? There's been
yeah.
a couple of warm days.
Yeah.
Because when the sun's out, this place will warm up.
Yeah, we had a fantastic thunderstorm last week, and
Yeah.
you just saw the next day it was night and day.
We just perked right up.
yeah,
Okay, all right. Mowing heights, what are you mowing these at?
Right, this is 140. We get down to 110.
Okay. So that's what I mean. They look
yeah.
like there's a lot of grass on here
Yeah.
because they're quite a bit taller than
Yeah.
when they're going to be.
Yeah.
And you'll be at 110 for that weekend.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Our goal by May 15th or May 16th, it'll be 110.
And you said to me earlier you can't get them too fast because I can see the way they're goofy. I mean,
Yeah.
you would not be able to cup up there at all.
No.
When they're
it's
fast.
10 and a half is our max. If we start to push it, then the complaints come in that it's just an unfair pin, and the guy who's changing holes is struggling to find that spot.
How much are you rolling?
We roll every day.
You roll every day.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, we roll
I'm a
every day.
big fan of rolling. We've been doing a whole bunch of rolling work, not just on putting greens, but fairways as well.
Yeah.
And rolling is a growth regulator. Traffic is a growth regulator. If you are, especially out here, rolling every day is the way to keep these greens under control, right?
Yeah.
Because you're giving it additional traffic. And especially when they have to get a little faster. When you think about how a green takes traffic, they are big greens, no doubt,
yeah.
okay? But if you get them a little too fast, is it safe to say you lose a third to a half of the cupping positions?
For sure.
Okay, so let's just use a third to a half as a rule of thumb. Now you're putting the same number of rounds on half the green sizes. When you think about how traffic happens on a putting green, 85% of the traffic on a putting green on any given day happens around the 10-foot diameter of the hole location. So if you don't have a lot of hole locations, that means you're starting to focus traffic in particular areas. I went to a golf course in New England the other day that literally every green had this really steep slope, fall stuff, and then a flat area. And it was literally like he had 5,000 square feet of green,
Yeah.
but he could only cup 1,000 square feet over the whole darn property because of the ridiculousness of it. So do they push you to get them faster, or they want to be brutalized out here, or
No,
what?
the majority of the membership is happy. We have some members that would love them as fast as we can get them.
Yeah.
But majority of the membership is happy with the green speeds 10 and a half.
Okay, all right.
You got it?
No, I'll let you do it. That way it'll be nice and clean. Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier you were thinking about Civitas for rough areas. Where's the walk-on, walk-off at this hole? Or is there? Where does everybody? Is it mostly cart golf or mostly walking?
It's shifting a little bit more cart, but we have a good walking membership, and it's off the back is usually where they go. So we do a survey with our membership, and some feedback we got is the rough around green sites thin out, and they get a little weak and uneven and just not nice to play out of what they're expecting. So I was thinking to go out green surrounds with Civitas this year. I put it in the budget to help with that, but I've never done it before.
Because I got to tell you, they look. Of course, this hasn't been cut yet this year.
No.
Okay.
No.
So it looks pretty lush and healthy. Do you have insect issues that thin it out? Do you have summer patch issues that thin it out?
I think it's traffic. It's where they walk on, walk off. I think like this spot here is not too bad. Around bunkers gets beat pretty bad, but it's the walk off, walk on areas.
Okay.
And then the turn like right along the green.
So there's
where
two
the
ways to
turning.
go whenever, one of the, oh, this is so great. Love a good train. So that's a freight train.
Yeah.
For years, and I'm sure for those of you that are a little long in the tooth with me have seen me speak, I've never been a big fan of, relying heavily on soil chemical testing as a way to develop a really good fertilizer program. I've been very outspoken about my disdain for certain ways soil tests get manipulated chemically, to the point where I just would say, don't even bother soil testing. Just sort of do it once and sort of figure out how generally they behave, and then you don't really need much phosphorus on a day-to-day basis out here at all. manage your potassium pretty reasonably. And I'm being a bit facetious. Certainly you're going to soil test and do those things. But what I really would like for you to start doing is start thinking about soil organic matter testing. That new USGA method, the OM246 thing that Micah Woods has been working on for a little bit, Doug Soldat, Rockaswa, a lot of the labs in the States, Jim Murphy. One of the things they found, and why do it, right? Why test why do physical property tests, not chemical property tests? Because when you think about it, pound for pound, one of the toughest things to do and deal with all the time is top dressing and cultivating greens for organic matter management. We have to find a way to bring data to the way we manage our organic matter, much like we do with our chemical nutrient testing. How much growth are you getting is where it starts, right? How much organic matter are you building each year, right? Especially as we've learned from we've been doing it for about 4 years now on our state park golf courses. We're finding that the majority of work almost every golf course has to do is in the top 2 centimeters. Everything you've got to manage really for performance and how that green behaves is in the top 2 centimeters. And unless you've got layering issues, unless you developed other problems in that profile, you can start to think about how much growth you're getting and how much sand you're using as a way of determining, well, I've got 5% organic matter in my top 2 centimeters, okay? All right, is that good or bad? I don't know. How's that green performing? Bulletproof, works good all the time. I guess that's a good organic matter number. That's how we're gonna figure this out, because we can't go around and test every friggin' green in the world or even set up an experiment very effectively for whatever kind of plant species in the way you manage. So the reason I wanna impose upon you or impress upon you to start doing that kind of testing, that physical property testing, is it starts to guide the way you grow, the way you sand, the way you cultivate, right? Do you have to keep pulling a core? What are you trying to accomplish? In some cases, I can tell you, some guys are telling me, I don't have enough organic matter, Frank. I'm sand splashing. I'm getting ball marks that don't want to recover. I've gone too far in diluting, driving down my growth and increasing the amount of sand I use. So when we get on putting surfaces, I would like to remind guys, there's ways of dialing in that other work that we're doing that we don't think about very much. Now, how much water are you using on this property in millions of gallons? Do you know?
I think we just did it. I want to say it was like 3-point-something million, I think. Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
No, it couldn't be 3 million. 30 million?
No, it wasn't that high.
Well, you got a lot of grass out here.
Well, it's a lot. The rough will turn. So the focus of water is green.
So you'll let the rough go.
We'll let the rough go, yeah.
But you got heads everywhere out there.
Kind of. We only have 500 heads on this property.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We only have
That's nothing.
For 18 holes, it's 500 heads.
Oh my gosh. Nowadays, it's unbelievable the number of heads golf courses are getting. And one last thing, and then we'll walk again. It appears that this microwave sensing technology, I think sold in the States as TurfRad, the TurfRad system, that Mo, a Canadian, is, I think Mo Richardson, Miranda, is involved with. This is a device that is able to measure soil moisture on the fly, get that data up to the cloud, and integrate into your Toro sprinkler system, your controlling system, what is it, Lynx now? I'm not sure what the operating system is. And it actually will suggest, don't put these heads on, or these heads need this much percentage. And it will start to control or suggest controls for your irrigation system. So you can go out, and this is the guys that have operationalized this TurfRad thing basically say, I send a person out, it's about a 2-hour job. It's fairways, it's primarily fairways. I think they can do tees too, but it doesn't work on greens and it doesn't work on rough. The grasses, the heights seem to matter. They're working on putting it on rollers on the greens. But I went to a couple of places out in Denver that were using it and had that conversion that was taking the data that after 2 hours it gets uploaded You know, you go out, you collect it. It's in 15 minutes, it's uploaded. In a half an hour, it's sitting in your Toro control system. The guys were telling me they got like 1,200 heads on their property. Yeah. They were saying one night, they said, you need these like 90 heads to go on tonight. Everything else can stay off. So it's just suggesting it. But I think we're starting to see, in that case, this is what artificial intelligence, this is the impact it's going to have on our industry. It's not going to change you pushing the button and making sure the pumps work and the pipes work and the heads are level and all the other baloney you got to do to put the water on. AI is not replacing that, right? Yeah. But it's going to give you more information about how to more efficiently use that particular resource. And I think over time, again, might not be pressure now, but if populations, keep growing and we have more pressure on people wanting to live in these areas, water available is going to be more and more scrutinized, especially for a place like this. Okay, let's keep walking. So how much teeing area you got?
3.5 acres.
Is it enough?
No.
It's not enough?
No. Our par threes are, the only nice par 3 tee is our 4th tee. Everything else is very, very, very small.
So these are the two, how many tees you got for this hole?
There is 3 on this one. So there's a little tiny green deck up there, red, and then that gold and silver share that deck.
So where does most of the play occur?
Gold and silver.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just a little note about, we talk about site-specific or, precision turf management, and you got to go out and buy GPS sprayers and remote sensing and all this stuff. And what I like to remind people is just something simple that happens on tees all the time. So how much play does that tee get?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Not much here?
Not a lot here, and then hardly anything up there.
Hardly anything up there.
Yeah.
And so when you go out and spray fertilizer on tees, all the tees get sprayed
they
the
get
same.
the same, yeah.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And that's exactly the kind of thing that now that tee, if we walked on it, I'm sure is more thatchy than this tee.
Yeah.
Right? And less thatchy than that tee.
Yeah.
And there's a clear indication that growth without traffic leads to thatch, right? When you're growing and you don't need that growth to put up with the wear and tear, and a par 3, they can't be big enough. Amen to that. They can't be big enough. I mean, you can't find a practice tee big enough. I got guys that now have gone to like 2 acres of practice tee ground. And one of the things they're finding, robots really work on practice tees, because it really keeps them dense. The only issue is the amount of sand they have to encounter sometimes on those tees. Depends on how you run the program there. So how many acres are these tees?
3.5.
3.5. And so this one looks really healthy. When did they close last year?
We closed November 16th.
Were they playing right up until that time?
Yeah. Not so much here. It was more the men that were playing on the backs, but yeah, they were playing right up till we closed.
And so I'm starting, I look around at this property and I see you're starting to do it, right? The areas you're not going to mow as much.
Yeah.
But you were mowing that not long ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
There we go. So I got to tell you, again, not the easiest way to become more environmentally responsible on any golf course you happen to be on is to intensively manage as little land as possible, full stop. Like whenever I have conversations with golf course superintendents, and this is one of the things we like Civitas for, whenever I have conversations with golf course superintendents who are really interested in environmental stewardship on their property, right? The first thing I'll tell them is get as much land out of intensively managed ground as possible. And you walk, it's funny, I hear the same thing all the time. We do it at Bethpage. But these areas now, how many more herbicide applications are they getting?
A lot.
A lot. A lot. And my classic line is, you wouldn't believe the trouble we go to make it look like we do nothing, right? The trouble we go to do that. We're starting to spray these things with drones now, with things. Jeff was talking about the goats. You hear about the goats at Rosedale? Oh my goodness, this was like the big hit of this neighborhood, goats. So managing these areas, right, are becoming something that you can take that out of labor, use those labor hours in other places. But again, when we started working with Civitas, the idea was to not use as many pesticides and see if we could drive down nutrient use and be a little bit more efficient. That was the original goal, right? And that appears to be the way Jeff Stauffer's using it at Rosedale, is he's using it to sort of really drive down other inputs in the reporting that you guys have to do through the IPM Act, the amount of active ingredient that you're generating every year, right? He doesn't use any growth regulators, so think about how much that sort of keeps out of the kilograms of AI that you got to report. So I think that's an interesting number to have, Sarah, is, you know, what's the average amount of kilograms of AI used on golf courses in the GTA? We're starting to talk to Guillaume and Laval about using that Quebec data to try to understand behavior, right?
Publicly available.
It is publicly available, yeah. So it's the kind of thing that I think, you know, listen, how many people are sick of hearing about best manager practices? I talk about it all the time. I'm sick of talking about it. And here's what I can tell you. I don't care what you do, just try to use less, a little bit less every year. And look at how much you use any resource over a 5-year period. How much water do you use over the last 5 years? How much nutrients have you used over the last 5 years? How many kilograms of AI have you used over the last 5 years? How'd the golf course look? What was the weather like? What's it looking like this year? You think you could think about doing this or that? You got to do this on your own. No one on your golf course is going to ask you to do this unless you're regulated into doing it, which no one is currently regulated into doing it. But as you start to think about wanting to reduce those things, and Civitas becomes an important part. It evens things out. It seems to have biological activity that allows plants to tolerate some level of stress and still perform at an adequate or exceptional level. And I think traffic tolerance is one of the things we've seen. And believe it or not, I've actually seen that most in the desert, where they overseed golf courses with ryegrass, and they're playing golf in December and January when the days are like 8 hours long, and they're playing 240 rounds a day on a desert golf course, right? All those cool season grasses start to wear out. And a lot of those guys, like, I don't know, what am I going to use this fungicide for? We got them to start using it, and some of them, especially with cart traffic, are treating these high traffic areas for it. Now, again, it's labeled as a fungicide, and seems to me when I was up here 10, 12 years ago going around Canada with Kuipers and Marie, like everybody was using it. Now we've been gone for a while. I come back and now not a lot of people are using it. It's almost like we're sort of reintroducing everybody to it. And so I'll just tell you from the beginning, it all started for me with wanting to use fewer pesticides and get the same level of activity or control. Everything else we found, water savings, nutrient savings, traffic tolerance, drought stress tolerance, you name it, has been stuff we've learned because guys just keep using it and say, wow, it used to have this problem, it doesn't have that problem anymore. And so little by little, that's what guys have been sort of finding out with it. That's one of the reasons I actually feel comfortable coming around talking about it, because I know it's helping you in other ways. Now, is OMRI certification work in Canada, or you have your own organic certification up here?
It's similar.
It's similar.
I don't know if it's the same name. There is an organic.
Okay, because the Civitas in the States, they're separate?
Well, there's two separate, yeah, there's OMRI Canada, and then
There's OMRI Canada. Is it labeled OMRI Canada?
Uh-huh.
It is, okay. So it's an organic material registry product. So it's been labeled, you can put it on an organic farm, right? And so actually it doesn't count towards your kilograms AI, Jeff was saying. And what did you say it just got labeled the other day?
Yeah, regulatory, they just, over the winter, it was pesticide of least concern, which means a lot for us in the regulatory department,
Yeah.
you know, as far as restrictions, so, yeah.
Yeah. It's good, right? Pesticide of least concern. Yeah, okay, let's keep going. Just like I was saying earlier about rolling, particularly on greens, we've seen an enormous benefit to rolling fairways. The benefits of growth regulation, organic matter management, playability, uniformity in moisture management. We did a study this past year on our sand-based fairways, and we found that when we rolled 3 to 5 times a week, I know that sounds crazy, 3 to 5 times a week, we weren't getting localized dry spot in those fairways that we were rolling, right, as we were drying them down. Now that's a sand-based system for sure, but we actually, 5 days a week, we went over these fairway plots twice a day, so 10 times a week we rolled, and those plots barely grew the entire 12-week period of the study from June to September. They barely grew. They, measuring the height of cut, they might have went from a 1/2 inch to 0.6 once, but basically we couldn't get any mowers to cut the grass. Now these things weren't getting any other traffic but the rolling. So I think, especially, 20.6 is not a lot of fairway.
Not a lot.
That's not.
No.
But they do seem wide in places, but this one happens to be short.
Yes.
It's
yeah.
not very long.
Yeah.
But boy, it's nice and lush.
Yeah.
Again, it looks like you're getting good growth here. You want to take another? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, good. There you go.
Dr. Rossi,
Yes, please.
what kind of rollers were you using there?
We were just using the Salsco triplex because it was a small enough area. But the guys, we've been monitoring this at Bethpage. We've been rolling the Black Horse fairways at intermittent times where they've been getting it like 3 to 4 times a week. And they're using this big progressive roller, big red one. I think the key is productivity. The wider you can get it, right, the heavier you can manage it, right? You got to have some issues at a place like Rosedale with the Humpty Dumpties, right? But he's, I think, using a progressive roller out there as well. So to me, like, just think about, again, this is a problem with being around so long. I remember when it was blasphemy to say you would poke a hole in the green in the summertime. And the primary reason was, all we had was the GA30, which you could maybe get through 9 holes in a day, while you had another guy walking behind you picking the parts up if they fell off of those things. And then all of a sudden the Toro 648 got invented. It's like, whoop, man, we can get this done in 3 hours. Off we go. Get 2 of those units, we're out of here. So as we've made things more productive and we've seen the value of doing it, we've adopted it. And one of the things I'm looking to trade off, while we still got human beings on mowers cutting fairways, right? I honestly, and as soon as we put the robots on them, I think it's going to be even more important then, is to start to think about replacing a mow with a roll. If you're mowing 3 days a week, right? How long does it take how many guys to mow fairways?
We're 2 guys, it's about 4 hours.
4 hours, 2 guys, 8 man hours,
Yeah.
eight person hours.
Yeah.
How many times a week?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay, 24 person hours, right? So half of a guy, person, a regular worker, is just spent time cutting fairways, right?
Yeah.
And again, if I could get, like at Bethpage, it's 3 guys, 4 hours, so it's 12 hours to mow. A lot of it is the land, it's just bigger.
Yeah.
It's just a bigger space. You know from being there, it's a massive golf course. Yeah. And so it's 3 guys, 4 hours, so it's 12 person hours. It takes 1 guy 3.5, 4 hours to roll all the fairways. So it's a no-brainer savings. It becomes an issue of managing your growth, right? Because obviously when you mow, if it look, and again, I'm not saying it's a bad anything, but it's the first cut. So you see clippings, which you'd never see here during the season.
No.
Right? You're never seeing clippings on these fairways. But if you let them grow too much and you got this, now you got another guy with a blower, right? Making more noise, woo, blowing the whole place up, right? So I think, what I'm trying to think about is, because when you look at this fairway, and even when you had cart traffic, you got a cart path, but people will drive out here.
Yeah, they don't like the cart path.
They don't like the cart path.
Too far away.
It's too far away, okay. So they'll drive out here, and cart traffic is a good thing. Don't be afraid of traffic. Don't be afraid of heavy mowers, unless they're gonna sink, right? If they're gonna sink, you should be afraid of them. But don't be afraid of them. Now, especially here, looks like what'd you do? You piled a bunch of sand
We
down
did,
here,
yeah.
huh?
We went very, very heavy in the fall.
Well, you can see that you've definitely lightened up the surface profile, but I mean, this is beautiful. You could grow 200 bushels of acre of corn on this thing. I mean, you could bag it up and sell it as fertilizer, but there is some clay in here.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
There is some clay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're still on the ridge.
We are, yeah. Once you get down below.
It's even worse than this.
Yeah.
So we'll take another picture of this, but you can see that sand he put on this last fall, right?
Yeah.
How much?
It was, so we target 60 tons per acre per year. So we missed the spring because it was so wet. So we hit 20 tons in September and then another 20 tons in November.
Okay, so 40 tons.
Yeah, last year.
Is that like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch? How big of a?
Yeah, I mean, you can't see the grass.
You can't see the grass.
Yeah, you can't see the grass. Yeah.
That's so great. I mean, obviously you're doing some aerification.
We are, yeah. We go out solid tines as much as we can.
Yeah. I mean, these are healthy soil systems, right? I mean, these are the kinds of things that should require as minimal input as possible, honestly. Just keep them cut, right? And you know, hopefully, you know, manage the growing environments. I'm gonna let you do that. Manage the growing environments in a way that you don't have to spray them a lot, right? These things look like they want to be healthy. Looks like grass wants to grow here. Thankfully, I see trees, but they look like they're spaced off. I think that transition between the tree landscape and the golf course, you know, there's a few too many in here for me, but I get how it works around here.
Yeah.
Right? They're little political hotbeds, having the woody species.
Yeah, we're on the right track. We've, over the last 3 years, we've taken out a ton of trees. There was a lot of cedar trees on this property. So we removed every single cedar tree on this property. And then we're starting to get into trees that are a little too close to the fairway. Let's get them back. And yeah, so the tree management program has taken from, I would get in trouble for taking one tree down to, let's go. The improvement is
Excellent.
is
So
showing.
how did you put that tree management plan together?
It was all through Google Maps. I used Steve Mann to help out with that as well.
Steve Mann is a local arborist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he helped with that, and then it was just communication to the membership.
Okay, so you didn't need an architect?
No.
You didn't need a regional agronomist of
No.
any kind? Okay,
No.
good. So
Yeah.
you were able to, just with the tree person, say, let's get rid of these things. Now, you're going to have another conversation when you got to rejigger this. This is where it's all going away, right?
Yeah. Like, so 1, 2, and 18 are going to be rerouted.
And you got enough land to fit how many holes?
It's tight. We're a par 72. By the time we're done, it might go down to a par 70. Maybe we can stretch a par 71. So the holes will get a little smaller. We're going to jam them in a little bit. So
Very interesting, right?
Yeah.
And you know, forever, I mean, they may come back in another 50 years and say, oh,
Yeah.
we need another 3 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got spots to lengthen. Like, we can push 3 back if we had to. We can lengthen our 4th hole.
Okay.
So there's areas we could claw back, but then it's a complete rebuild of that hole. So
That's
it's
correct.
It's a cost factor.
Or it's a rerouting of the whole property.
Yeah,
Finding other spots. And that's,
Yeah.
they're not going to be happy about you messing around where we're about to walk to.
No.
Yeah.
No.
All right,
no,
off we go.
No.
You need a spade to get it up. Beautiful. Okay. Well, you've been sand top dressing here.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more aggressively down here?
Yeah, this fairway, some of the fairways we hit a little extra when we have some. 5 is one of them.
You
that
can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the amount of sand in here. But again, you know, the root zone is functioning really well. You can see the roots coming down. But you can also start to see a little bit of stress, right? Maybe in the cleanup pass, right? But not great soils below this, huh?
Not here. I guess when they built it, they cut it out of this hill, so it's native soil, and it's just what we've been doing over the last little bit and what they've pushed on it. But
Are you able to get these things firm during the season?
yeah, they dry out pretty good. Yeah,
They do dry out pretty good.
Yeah.
The sand's gonna, you know, oddly enough, a lot of times when you first start with sand, they actually stay wetter.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the water goes through the sand and sort of perches at the soil below. You've almost sort of built a bathtub.
Yeah.
Where it actually will hold more water before it sheets off, because it'll fill that little bit of sand. So, you know, one of the things we will recommend sometimes is spiking, like something with the triangles on the back. You can pull on the back of a tractor, real old school, ground driven, just to break through that and to keep it moving through the profile there. You know, you can go as fast as the tractor will go, and you're not tearing the place up, especially when you first start to embark upon this. I actually think for you it's a good idea. I think once you get enough sand, then I think you want to start the mixing. That's where, I mean, you're not hollow tining these things, are you?
No.
You're just you're just putting the sand on them, letting it grow through.
Yeah, and then solid tining.
That's and then solid tining after. Okay, so that's less labor intensive, right? And I think eventually you could probably eliminate the sand and maybe start recycling some of the sand that's in there, because it's still good soil. I mean, it's not terrible soil. It's just not deep.
Yeah, it's not deep.
It's not deep enough. Yeah, and you can see, you know, these are the kinds of places where you know, Civitas is one way to go. I certainly like it for snow mold and then the start of the season. This is an ideal time to, actually, if you were going to use it, I'd tell you, just spray this fairway.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it in this fairway because this looks a little bit weaker than the one up top.
Yeah.
Looks like you got some soil issues and stress going on here you don't have in other places. This is exactly the place I'd rather you use Civitas, number one. Number two, I might drive up, I would maybe put a little more nitrogen because it looks like it might be the wear and tear, but it could be the orientation of it too.
Mm-hmm.
What way is that oriented? North?
It'd be north, yeah.
It's north,
Yeah.
okay. So maybe a little more damage
Yeah.
on it from the winter? Snow laid here for a while, yes?
Yeah, and anything down in the valley, the snow hung out.
The snow hung out for a
Yeah,
long
yeah.
time. And then when it was flooded, where was it flooded?
It was flooded down in that back corner.
Down in the back
Yeah,
corner.
Yeah, 6,
Not in
6,
here.
7, not up here. 6, 7, and then 12, 14.
So
13.
we were up at the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Where is that river relative to the creek? Is that the same creek?
No, it's a different. So the one that we passed was just a tributary spring groundwater, a little bit of runoff into it. And then this is Black Creek. So Black Creek enters down at the west end of our property and then exits on the east end of our property.
Okay, so you got an in and out.
Yeah.
Grab a cup, send it in, right?
Yeah.
I bet you this place is cleaning up a fair amount of the water that's moving through here.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come onto the land at all. It just moves right through the creek.
The creek, the creek goes through the golf course.
Through the golf course.
Yeah, right through the middle. So that's Black Creek right there. So it comes into play on 4 holes, I believe it is.
Okay.
So.
All right. Here we go. All right. Oh, good healthy soils. We should probably talk about you using it out here. I would actually would like to see you use it. This is exactly the kind of place we use it. Okay, let's keep moving. Yesterday when we were at Jeff's place, he's put a lot of turf type tall fescue on some of his banks to deal with the sand splash. And the fescue does really good through the summertime, but then is terrible in
coming out of
snow
spring.
mold. Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
just looked awful. One of the reasons I like these walkabouts, I was telling Ken on the way over, I was like, what kind of shape are those bunkers in? He goes, yeah, not so good. I was like, perfect, let's go. This is a hard job. And I think inherently, people who work and manage these operations at a really high level are enormously critical of themselves and their operation. And I think sometimes we lose our footing a little bit. And we're a little overly critical and it bleeds into other parts of our lives. So this is a little mental health moment. One of the things I like about these walk and talks is you get to see Ken's work. You get to see the struggles he has, which may be different or like your struggles, but you may have bunkers that you're struggling with as well. And you come to a swanky joint like this and you're like, well, even a swanky joint like this is struggling with bunkers. And maybe that helps you get a couple extra hours of sleep over the course of a week. Right? Or take a minute and go to a yoga class or something like that. But bunkers, I hate these things.
Yeah, they're not.
They take an inordinate amount of effort, right? For something that I gotta tell you are almost aesthetic. How many bunkers on your guy? I bet you I couldn't ask a superintendent who couldn't tell me I could find 5 bunkers we could get rid of.
Yeah.
Or at least put in and make them smaller, make them easier, right? And that's the way I feel about bunkers. First, do you really need them, right? Is that actually where anybody can hit? Never mind, no one plays the golf courses the right length anymore, right? Most people are not playing golf courses the right length. The average 95 handicapper drives the ball off the tee and hits the fairway at about 230 yards. That's the average drive of an average golfer shooting 95, which is probably most of the golfers that play at most of the courses in the GTA, right? That same golfer can hit a green 50% of the time from 130 yards out. 50% of the time they can hit a green from 130 yards out. So if you think about it, you got a par 4 longer than 360 yards, it's too long. If they're playing it more than, the average guy is playing it more than 360 yards, it's too long. So first off, do you need the bunkers? Second off, when you gotta redo them, do you gotta spend all the money on the liners? Are there other ways of doing it? One way is obviously to have a nice flat green. It's a flat one, flat bottoms, not too many splash surfaces, right?
Yeah.
You don't have too much of that?
We don't, no.
No, so that helps you a little bit. So they're how old?
93, I think, was the last time they did a bunker renovation.
Okay, so you're 33 years out. So if I dig down, Has that been the move? Just keep adding sand?
That's all we do is just add.
Just add. Because there you are. Looks like I'm at the stuff down there. They look pretty clean, actually, to start the year.
Yeah.
You're just adding.
Yeah.
So can you get them firm? Do they complain about them? What is it they don't like?
The sand depths is they don't like it.
They get fried eggs?
They get fried eggs, yeah, and some of them they do, because we just keep adding sand, and then it's soft, and we add and add and add. They don't like the edges on them. They don't like the grass around them. They just don't like them. Period.
They don't like them.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the plan?
We're hoping that when Trafalgar Road comes through and we have to rebuild those 4 to 2 holes, we're hoping that excites them, that it's brand new holes, brand new bunkers, brand new everything, that they would then hop on board and invest into their club to do a whole bunker renovation.
Does it take you more time to manage them, or is it just they're not very satisfying for the members?
They're just not satisfying for them.
But they don't take you a lot of extra time?
Not a lot. We send 2 people out to hand rake them, and it's about a 3-hour hand rake.
Once a week, twice a week?
No, it's every day.
Every day?
Every day, yeah.
Every day?
Every day, yeah.
2 guys go out and rake them, hand rake them all, no machines?
No machines, no.
How many you got?
54. Yeah.
Man,
so.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's everybody's favorite job.
Yeah,
Everybody's favorite job, all right.
They see that on the board and their heads go down.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is an inordinate amount of staff time for areas that are just not, they're part of the game, but they're there for you to not hit in them.
Yeah.
They're really there for you to say, hit somewhere else. And if you want to know how people feel about bunkers, have you seen what Sergio did to the second tee at Augusta National? And then the knuckleheads carrying the bag down the fairway? He completely came unglued, right? Why? Because he rolled the ball in the bunker, like 2 out of every 3 other guys that did on that hole over the course of the day. So bunkers are maddening, not just to golfers, but they're maddening to us.
And I think some of it's perception too. We rake every day. We try to do just touch-ups, go in where they played, and they would complain that the bunkers weren't complete raked. So it's a perception thing for them. They just try to find something that we weren't doing, I guess, is what.
Because they hate them.
Yeah.
And that you're the only person they can give a hard time to about them.
Yeah.
So you think you could get rid of a few?
Oh yeah, we've had our architect that we have come through, and he's X'd a bunch out. Yeah. So he's X'd quite a bunch out. So.
All right. So here's where you put the robot, right? Here's the first, this is exactly what Nigel was saying earlier when you've got new sod or something that you have on the golf course. These are the kinds of things that I can't imagine a golf course not at least having a few of these things lying around. Crest makes it easy to go around with that beep-to-boop that you put the red thing in, right? And you know what I mean? That thing, whatever it is, the wheel you go around with to mark the area. And you can come and you could tell the guy, hey, okay, see up there? Stop up there, right? And just mow that way. The robot's doing all this stuff, right? And so I think, right now we're still in this, it's about to, I think adoption in our industry is about to really take off. I think the price points are still there. I think just like in agriculture, what drove it was availability of labor and the cost and quality of that labor. And as those things are going up, it's making automation the return on investment, even if you're not, paying for it, still spending the same amount of money, the operation's going to improve as a result. And this is an example, right? The last thing you want is a sidewinder even running through here, right? Or a 5-wide. Yeah. Forget about a big wide area mower through here. That thing, get somebody to pull them out.
That's it.
Yeah. So this was flooded? No, it didn't get flooded here.
No,
just wet.
Just very wet.
So here's these, here's the par 3?
It's par 4, so tees are way down
Okay,
there, yeah.
But this is an approach.
Yeah.
This is, this is the, when I was looking at it, first off, how about the size of this putting surface? You think that's big enough? And then you look at it and you think, man, he's got all that cupping space, but it isn't until you get on it. This looks like a very fun place to play once you get on the green.
Once you get on, yeah, there's a lot of movement.
Once you get on the greens, there's a whole tilt to these things, and then within them, there's a whole bunch of movement, and I could see when you get them fast, some of the troubles that you have. Now, when you treat, so is this on a greens program?
No, this is on a fairways program.
This is on a fairways program. So how far does the greens program come out?
Green is probably
Right here.
right here.
You
yeah.
can almost see
Yeah.
it, right? You can almost see
Yeah.
it, right? So here's the greens program. There's the fairway program, and you can almost see the transition zone right in between.
Yeah.
That's very common that we see a lot on properties where the approach and the fairway come together. And one of the things we have found for Civitas is in turnaround areas, transition areas, areas where you can see there's brown senescing leaves in here. You see how it looks a little yellower or browner? And it's not because the plants aren't healthy. It's just because whatever is affecting the growth is the leaves are dying off quicker than they're getting replaced. And that's how Civitas does its thing. You put it down and it seems to trigger a response that keeps the leaves greener underneath without a nutrient. It is a physiological response that the plant has both to the copper pigment and to the mineral oil that seems to be allowing leaves to stay more photosynthetically active for longer. That's the way it works. And it just happens to be an oil, and it just happens to be made in Mississauga, and it just happens to work perfect for me because I love coming up here. But here's what I can tell you. If you're interested in areas that, again, I was saying to Ken, a lot of times when I talk to people about Civitas, and I come to these kinds of places where, come on, he's doing everything pretty good here. Can we nod our heads and say things are going pretty good? Just look around. This place looks really good. And we get critical, right? Because the members, got to find something sometimes, and it's just the nature of these things. And sometimes just adding Civitas on the top of operations like this, you don't really see the same value as when you can find areas where there's stress, traffic areas, or that fairway that probably got you crappy soils, right? Here where it's in between and mowers are turning around, and although this is all hand mowed, right?
This is, yeah.
All year?
Yeah.
All year,
Yeah.
okay. So these kinds of areas are good places to throw Civitas in the tank throughout the year to see how it mitigates that stress. I honestly don't tell people, I tell a lot of people, I don't think Civitas is for you. I mean, unless you're willing or you have other stress problems, it doesn't seem to be something that you need to do. Or you're trying to drive down pesticide or nutrient, or you'd like an area to be able to get drier. You can let it dry out a little bit more using Civitas. But these are sort of nuances. I mean, it ought to be something I think you can probably use in your snow mold tank in your early spring time. This is a perfect time to start messing around with it. But in the meantime, how much nitrogen does this get?
So fairways are about 1.1 pounds per thousand.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
And what are you spraying them? Once a month?
It's bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks you're spraying 20 acres.
Yeah.
And you'll have nutrients in the tank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very low amounts.
Very low. The only thing that goes on fairways is ammonium sulfate, ferrous sulfate, and
Wetting agent?
we do a wetting agent. Yeah, we do a wetting agent. We use PBS on the fairways.
Okay, 150?
Yeah.
PBS 150? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the fairways don't see a whole heck of a lot of product.
Spray, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, just a reminder, if we want to be more environmentally responsible, we should manage our large acreage more judiciously. Like what you do to 4 acres of greens doesn't concern me as what you do to 20 acres of fairways, right? Those are the conversations I think we can certainly start having with people about the way things are done on golf courses. And I think that there's, as I said earlier, if I had my druthers, everybody'd have a wash pad, a better wash pad. I wouldn't worry about what you applied to the ground. I know enough to know the biggest problem is somehow nutrients, and primarily nutrients, but you're not using very much.
No.
I mean, across all this acreage, you're, using virtually nothing, but it is a system that accumulates nitrogen, right? So when you get those big dumps, it does, you do get some movement of nutrients and debris certainly running off here for sure, but it would happen even if the golf course wasn't here.
Yeah.
So I think you mentioned earlier the tree management plan. Again, no architect.
No.
Is there a lot of, how about removing trees down in here? Do you
Yeah.
have to get extra approval for that?
No, so we're lucky in Georgetown. There's no tree bylaw per se. It comes in effect when it's a forested area.
Okay.
So because the trees were spread out, it's so many trees per acre. Because it was spread out, it didn't deem it as a forest. So this is the 7th hole, and that's the 6th. That was all cedars. That's separated. You could barely see the 6th hole.
Okay. So it's
from the
opened up
7th.
quite a bit.
It's opened up quite a bit, and then.
And now you can start making that some native area too, right?
Yeah. So then the 16th hole, we pushed that bush way back. From the tee, you didn't even see the bunkers from the tee, and we pushed that bush back. But yeah, it was cedar trees everywhere on this property, and like I think that's the only clump there that's left of cedar trees, and they don't want us to take it down quite yet until we plant another tree in that spot. So.
People in their trees.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
let's keep walking. You can feel this fairway. You walk about 15 of these fairways, man, your legs are hanging. Right? You feel your feet go squash, squash. And it's just the nature of, these are really organic, rich soils next to the river that still flood, right? Or get wet,
yeah.
right?
This when it rains, this is puddles everywhere, and it
Yeah.
takes a while to get it through.
And I was asking, one of the things that I saw yesterday at Rosedale was, a lot of his low-lying areas, he had ice damage. I can't imagine it's that much of a different climate there than here.
No.
But why don't I see any ice damage here?
Yeah, we lucked out.
And you've been lucking out. In the years you've been here, you've never seen ice damage?
The one year in 2020, we had some ice damage. But it was the same as this year. We had a little bit of ice on greens, and we went out to go remove it, and we only got to a couple greens, and then we got a melt, and then everything was okay. When you walked on the ice, you could feel that there was something below it, that water was moving. So we're like, it's okay. We actually caused more damage to the greens that we did remove ice to. We gouged it and we scuffed it. So there's more damage on the 4 greens that we did remove ice to. And we found that in 2020 when we had a bunch of ice, we went out and tried to remove it. And those greens that we did were almost set back. Like they were a lot slower to recover. Because
that's the moral of the story, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem. Even when you know there's ice, it's hard to tell whether it's the right thing to do to just leave it alone. And it really is a matter of how long it's been on there. How long was the ice on there?
So it set in just after Christmas, I guess. So we were getting to the nervous point of it's been on a while, and we went out and we were snow blowing it, and it was thick in some spots. But by the end of the afternoon, it was so warm out. Like when you walked on it, you could feel the ice just doing this. Okay. So it's like we knew there was something there.
But no ice on this fairway.
No ice on the fairway.
Or at least if it was ice, it didn't cause a problem.
No, yeah.
But there had to be some ice. Everybody got the ice storms, right?
Yeah, but we like no damage to ice. Like everything.
Look, it's
looks like
quite
that.
impressive, I think.
The little bit of damage that we got was on 15 in a bird bath.
In a bird bath. Okay.
And then 10 got hit, but I think that was more.
So eventually the water does go in.
It does go in, yeah. It does.
Did it freeze down here? I'm assuming it freezes down here. Maybe
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think with that heavy sand that we had, I think that helped it. Like you couldn't see grass when we were done top dressing. That's how thick it was.
And your plan is to keep that up.
Keep that up, yeah.
And they're budgeted for it too.
Yeah.
Have they seen the trucking bill in the last month?
They have, but they've seen what it was to what it is now, and they're happy with it.
Okay,
so
good.
They're liking it, so they don't.
Because I think
balk
compared to what it's going to cost to move sand around,
Yeah.
the cost of the sand is going to be
Yeah.
minimal.
Yeah.
Even at the scale you're buying it.
Yeah. So
you got a big Turf-Go, large scale top dresser?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
We got the equipment. They were on board for it.
Great.
So
Oh, this is a boggy area?
this one can be a 12s are worse, but it's pretty dark.
Oh yeah, you can see it for sure. Okay, so now you can really see, right, what dark riverbed soil looks like. And you can start to make those ribbons. You can see where the knife cut, how it glazed. It makes it shiny right along the fine clay particles. So this is, again, I think an area that would benefit from your sand top dressing, no doubt about it. It would get more consistent for sure. But boy, you barely ever have to fertilize these things.
No, they grow.
I mean, I think you should just bring the jug of growth regulator out and put it on top of the grass. The only way to slow this thing down, because when it dries, does it ever dry where the soil gets cracking?
Yeah.
Or you
Oh, yeah.
do?
Down in this area, it does.
You'll get
yeah.
some cracking, I
Yeah.
would say. It looks
Yeah.
like enough clay in here. But again, you're rooted down very effectively, and again, you see how the soil hangs on, right, and is holding together like that. That's a sign of good soil life. Now, before we wrap up and walk up the hill, I was chatting with Ken on the way over about the sand top dressing of the fairways. And I'm always reluctant, right? I mean, it's a big undertaking, and to a certain extent, once you decide to do it, you get committed, you sort of got to do it, right? You're going to do it. And I was like, well, how did it come about? And you said you went to a golf course. Tell the story.
Yeah, so we went to Thornhill to play golf, and I had some members and our GM with it, and we played those fairways. And when you hit the ball, you just saw that sand splash of sand-covered fairways. And so I made a comment on that of like, look how nice their fairways are, and how much roll you get out and how firm they are. And then they're like, well, what do we need to do to get this? And I said, well, we need to buy a tractor, we need to buy a top dresser, and we need to buy a lot of sand. So that's what kind of sold them on it. They wanted that duplicated fairway here, so that's how I sold them on this program.
So I tell you, don't underestimate the value of being able to play golf with your membership. Don't underestimate. I mean, you hadn't thought of that until you saw it happen there, right?
Yeah.
But when you have that opportunity to actually correlate what you do to what the golfers experience in real time, that's gold.
Yeah.
That is just total gold because it gives you very clear direction.
Yeah.
We struggle a lot of times as golf course people saying, I give them what I give them for what I can give them, and unless I hear complaints, I keep doing it. But when you get specific, like we'd like them to play better, we sort of like how this works. And now you're how many years into this? One?
This 3, so this will be year 4.
Year 4, and they're still committed.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're still committed to
Good.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
So it's increased. So the first year was a less sand, and then when I redid the budget, I asked for more money for more sand, and then they slowly allowed me to get more and more sand. So that's kind of where I hit the 60 tons per acre is what I sold them on.
And not for nothing, I a lot of times the other part of a golf course operation, whether it's the superintendent or the assistant and the crews, you got to execute that, right? You got to throw a whole bunch of sand. I don't know if you noticed how steep those hills were walking down here, but I noticed how steep they were. And I don't think hauling sand down those hills is anybody's favorite job. No. And so when people say, it's unskilled labor on the golf course, bullshit. I don't want any knucklehead pulling a material handler with a 40 horse, 50 horse, 60 horse tractor coming down a hill. That's something I want somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think, we overlook that. What it takes to actually get that sand here and then dispersed uniformly in an efficient manner without causing much damage. That's sort of all the table stakes in golf. You got to just know how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And, no matter where you go to school, at some point you got to figure out how to execute those things in the field. And I as we sort of wrap up, I don't know if we're going to stop again. Can we take a minute and thank Ken and the club for having us here? And the folks at All Turf for sponsoring us to come by. Sarah, thanks for coming out. Appreciate everybody that took a chance to come out. But it's clear to me that it's a well-run operation, right? That you have, obviously, it's been through a little transition. You're the third superintendent in 10 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of transition.
Yeah.
That's not good for a club.
Yeah.
I think it's tough when people come and go too quickly. And I think when it's best to have you guys around for a while, right? To get your hand influence in the place, right? Because it takes a while for a place to adjust to the way you like to manage, right? Anyway, so let's wander up the hill.
Yeah.
Off we go. So how about this, right? This is what Ken was talking about earlier about par 3s. This gets rototilled, quote unquote, during the year. You can appreciate it. Narrow, really focused traffic. This is damaged just from what? Last fall?
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what it's like during the season. And I was like, man, have you thought about redesigning? And then you're either going up a hill or down a hill.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to, change the hole, or you can go that way.
And then that's our driving range there, so we don't want to take these trees down because it's
safety.
So,
boy, this is a rock and hard place here.
Yeah.
but it's a nice closing hole.
Yeah, this is our 9th hole. So when we do our club championship, we switch it so we end on this hole because it is a nice hole.
I mean, the only other way would be to start the tee here, get rid of all that back stuff.
Yeah.
And just make it here and see if can you go that way, and maybe you'd have to go that way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to bring the attention. We're talking about robots. One of the complaints or one of the concerns some people have that we hear early on is, well, it's probably not a very good quality of cut. It doesn't do straight lines. It doesn't look aesthetic. There you can see that thing working this morning. It's on the charger now. It's all done the job it was supposed to do. I think that's a pretty good looking product for what it's done, and the blades that are underneath that, how good that is.
That's perfect, now. I mean, that's what I would say. I mean, I think whatever reason, human beings like straight lines. They didn't like when it was a random pattern. It really detracted from the quality. So the ability to do the straight lines is a bit of a game changer. And I think you're exactly right. The question I would have, Nige, is that one that's doing the hill slope, is it getting all the way down to the putting green, or is that one going to make its way?
That one's not running. That's just on display.
Okay.
Only the one unit's running.
But if they were running, would it be handling that entire slope?
Yes.
So that would be that one would still only have that mission. Correct. That would be that mission. Yeah. Now, if how does it? Let's say it wants to mow around. Okay, it mows that, and then it wants to mow around the practice green. Will it go across the pavement?
We have to train it, but yeah, we create a path across the pavement where the mowers will be off, and then they'll pick up zone 2. We might do that at a different height of cut. It'll automatically adjust itself, and then carry on in the same way we saw it working this morning.
Okay, so that's the other thing, because a lot of these spaces that require hand work or detail work are spaces where you're going to have to cross over these things. It's not going to let you cross a road, though.
You can, as long as there's no curb, it can go wherever you tell it to go.
Really? It'll go across a road?
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. Well done. Okay, just a note about, ending up talking about how good golf is. One of the big things that they're saying is contributing to young people, women, and other folks that are taking up golf, people that normally we try to get them to take up golf, they take it up and then they get rid of it, is actually the use of technology. The swing measures we have now, the simulators, your own TrackMan at these things that you put up is shot tracer things that you can get. The Arcos app for your clubs that's, basically figuring out every shot you need to hit now. The comfort that younger people have with technology is helping them use that technology to improve their golf games. And so we see more practice areas that are putting TrackMan in. Anybody putting TrackMan in some of these ranges around here? That ranges become more, they practice more than they play, right? They practice way more than they play. Places that are getting practice facilities, they're maximizing it, they're putting the technology, and right next to it is a bar with a TV and a bunch of snacks and alcohol right next to the range. Practice a little bit, walk right over there, sit by the fire pit, right by the range. Maybe there's a practice putting green. They're building these Himalaya putting greens all over the place now where you basically take a drink out, start putting all night. I think we have to start imagining there's lots of ways to satisfy people's desires to play golf around our operations that isn't just the golf course. Mm. It has to do with these other amenities. And again, in a public environment, two things have impacted golf in the Northeast, and particularly in states like New York and Massachusetts. One is the preponderance of ranges. We've got a lot of ranges. People want to get out. There's a lot of golf to get out to, and they're willing to go and spend and hang out. And cannabis. Cannabis is booming the golf business. They go, they get their cannabis, they come and play. They don't tear things up. They drink their IPA, and then they spend twice as much money in the restaurant.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, guys have told me they're ready as soon as they can get a license is to put cannabis edibles on the cart, on the the cart thing going around the golf course.
Our assistant GM actually looked into that.
He
Yeah,
did, okay.
Yeah, he did.
There we go. So, I think there's a lot of things that are conspiring for golf to be really popular, remote work, all the things we talked about before. But I think we got to be really open-minded in an industry that's been pretty closed-minded for a really long time. We're a pretty conservative industry. We do not change things very rapidly. Some of that's good, right? But the rest of the world is changing pretty quickly. And I hope some of the things we talked about today get you thinking about what the season's going to hold for you. I'll thank you from here. We'll just walk up the hill.
Yeah.
I'll thank you from here for coming out. Nigel, any more closing words? Good to go. We lost Tim. Matt, anything wrapping up? Okay. Thank you all for coming out. It's been a joy to see you. What a great property you have, Ken. Well done.
Thank you.
Good to see you again. All right, off we go.